Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Lauren Newley here. Welcome to another hair-related TE video. So today I thought I would talk to you guys about kind of the differences between postpartum hair loss and telogen effluvium or TE. I've had two kids, so I've gone through postpartum hair loss now twice since I experienced TE, and I do think that there are some differences, so I wanted to kind of talk to you about those and then talk to you about things that stayed the same this time going through postpartum hair loss, and then things that I did differently this time going through postpartum hair loss as opposed to TE. Okay, so first, I actually did end up doing a little research because I wanted to see if TE and postpartum hair loss is the same thing. So basically it is the same thing, so it's going to be a similar time frame, similar in the fact that most people recover from it, just like most people recover from TE. Most people recover from postpartum hair loss. And basically it's just like the shift in hormones. I would have thought it was the trauma to the body, but apparently it is just the shift in hormones that causes your hair to start falling out about 3 to 6 months after you had your baby, which has been true for me both times. So they are basically the same from a scientific perspective, but I personally did notice a number of differences. So I feel like when it comes to what I noticed that was different, there's like the physical aspect, which really wasn't much. I feel like maybe the hair loss was a little bit less overall. It was less diffused and a little bit more in like the temple areas. Whereas when I had TE, it was completely diffused. So that was different in a sense, but physically it was about the same. Like it lasted about the same amount of time. Seemed like the heavy shedding was similar to what I experienced with TE. So physically about the same. Mentally though, I feel like it was much, much different. The biggest difference for me mentally that I noticed with this was that I knew that it was going to happen and I knew that it was going to end and I knew about how long it would probably last. So that alone was just such a shift from TE. I feel like when you first go through TE, you're so stressed out and you're losing your hair and you're just like freaking out, at least me. And I lost a ton of energy on researching and trying to figure out why it was happening and trying to figure out how long it was going to last. And oh my gosh, was it ever going to end? And just a ton of energy was spent in that. And then when you go through it postpartum, you know it's going to happen. You know it's going to end. You know why it's happening. And it just like that for me, it was completely different. So postpartum was so much easier. That being said, kind of those are the biggest differences that I noticed. Let's talk about what I actually did the same in terms of my routine, and then we'll talk about some things that I actually kind of switched up. The number one thing that stayed the same was I prioritized hair health over everything. So I would say more than the average person, I was really focused on keeping my hair healthy, the integrity of my hair. I feel like I took a little bit of a different approach this time, which we'll talk about later, but overall, I feel like, you know, I was gentle with my hair. I took care of my scalp. I never did repetitive, intense styles or intense heat styling. And I really just kept the health of my hair as kind of the main goal and the forefront of really the foundation of everything I did with my hair during hair loss. So the second thing that stayed the same was I did not count any strands. I feel like counting strands is just a waste of energy, a waste of time, and it just was not good for my mental health. I think that if you need to count strands to get like a baseline of maybe how much you're losing, you could do that like once, but in my opinion, I would just not get stuck doing that. This may be TMI, but like when I brush my hair, I kind of like put it in the sink so I can see sort of a gauge of how much is coming out per day, I guess. But I definitely don't sit there and then like separate each strand and count it out. That would be not good for my personality and mental health. So I do not do that still. Okay, and the other thing that I kept the same was I always had a dynamic routine. What I mean by that is instead of using like one specific shampoo and one specific conditioner, I had different products that I would rotate in depending on the health of my hair, the conditions, the weather, if I was having any scalp issues. I feel like I was really good at kind of assessing the situation every time I went to wash my hair. I still do that to this day, even though now I feel like I'm not losing as much. I just feel like I kept a very dynamic routine and would change it up depending on what my hair needed. And I think that really did help with keeping it healthy as well. So those are all the things that I did the same. So let's talk about the few things that I did differently this time around. So the first thing was I stressed less. So you probably saw that one coming, but I did stress a lot less. Like I said, it was a huge mental shift to know that it was going to be happening, know that it was going to end, and know why it was happening. So I was just able to stress a lot less. I do think now, looking back, I wish that I would have had that approach when I was going through TE the first time, but just that just wasn't the situation. But I really do feel like having less stress led me to be able to be a little bit more positive easier than having to like really try to force myself to have this positive mentality. So stress less, that was a good one. And that was one that I kind of switched up this time. The second one that I switched up, this is where I feel like the next two, these are like the biggest changes. So this was, I was more lax to be more relaxed. What I mean by this is I still got my hair colored. I would use heat sometimes. I would maybe use a product that I absolutely love that sure is super chemically or maybe not the best for my hair, but I would use it once in a while. I would say overall, I still was super healthy. This does not mean that I used heat every day. This does not mean that I was doing insane coloring treatments, but I feel like I shifted out of this like victim mentality that I kind of was getting myself into with not using heat or not using color. I feel like I wasn't looking my best and feeling good. Like I was almost trying to be so healthy with my hair that it was making me feel worse about my hair than maybe if I did a few things like color or use a texturizing spray or a hairspray that I really liked. I just feel like being a little bit more relaxed made me feel more relaxed and made me more happy. And I feel like it made me just feel better overall. And the last thing that I did differently kind of goes hand in hand with that. But I changed up sort of my approach to products. I took a still what I would consider a somewhat clean approach, but I took more of a dermatology approach than a kind of like hippie granola approach, which is what I was taking before. I don't know how else to describe it. So I feel like before I was really focused on organic products and that sort of version of clean beauty, which I still use. I still really enjoy that whole realm of things. This time around, I feel like I was more focused from like a skincare perspective and scalp care perspective. I would use things that did not have fragrance in them or fragrance-free shampoos. If I did have any scalp conditions, I wasn't afraid of using a medicated shampoo. I don't use them very regularly, but if I had a condition going on, for example, when we just switched to winter, my scalp was really dry and I was having some issues there. So yeah, I use the Head and Shoulders or I use the dandruff shampoo or something like that if I need to. But I made sure that it was more medicated than on the path of like essential oils and things like that. I still am not interested in using minoxidil. I don't know that that will change. So I didn't go like full dermatologist approach, but I did kind of take more of like a skincare dermatology approach to what I was using on my hair. That being said, that was the majority of the time. If I had a fancy shampoo that I wanted to use that I got a sample of or something like that, I think in the past I wouldn't do that. Whereas now I kind of enjoy that indulgence and will give myself a little bit more freedom when it comes to trying those sorts of things. But for the most part, I did have really clean products that I felt like were good for the scalp as well as the hair. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you got some good information out of it. And if you have been enjoying watching my videos, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of them. I will catch you guys in the next one. And I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.